Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, welcome to the program. It's February 26th, which suggests February is on its last legs, and I say hooray to that. And it's a Tuesday, which means my sister Susan is joining us from Southern California, warm Southern California. Hi, Susan.
Good morning. At least it's finally warm.
Yeah, right. The minute I
You
left,
waited for you to leave.
I know. The minute I left, it got so warm. I know. I'm glad for you. Geez. Okay, Suze, we gotta just jump right in here. One of the nice things about being in California in February is the Academy Awards start at 5 p.m. Did you?
Yeah,
watch?
that is like the chief
advantage.
Good thing about being out here. Advantage. That's the word. I'm sorry. It's 7 a.m. here, so
it doesn't
words
matter.
don't come easily.
No, basic words disappear at any time of day these days. But yeah, and I once was out there for the Academy Awards, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, you watch eating dinner. It's just great. And then you go to bed.
It's so much fun because it was 8:30 and it was done.
So.
And I thought, it's funny because everybody sits there doing the same thing, wondering why the hell they're watching the show,
right.
which for the 50 gazillionth time is boring, and stars are not stars. I mean, we really, they aren't these, rare things that one can't see every time one turns around anymore. None of it carries any of the panache that it used to, and still, we all just tune in.
Well, I think it's like the Super Bowl. It's one of the...
Which I also hate.
I know. And this is the first year that I
don't even watch
didn't
the
watch
commercials.
it. Yeah, right. I didn't watch it this year. That was the first. But the Academy Awards, I don't know. I like to go to movies, so I end up watching for whatever reason. Anyway, I talked about this a little bit yesterday, so I don't want to bore the audience, but I actually thought without a host it moved quicker and...
I liked it better without a host,
right.
Because those were all mostly cringeable moments anyway.
Usually, yes.
And I noticed that you said something about Billy Porter. He absolutely stole the show. I love Christian Siriano, who is the designer of what he wore.
Was he the guy that was on? Wait a minute. Was he the guy on E who was commenting on the red carpet? I think he was.
Christian Siriano is a teeny little dark-haired
little
man.
Bespectacled guy who
young.
Who obviously is on like Project Runway or something, right?
He won Project Runway way in the beginning, not the first season.
And why do you
love
him?
I just want to tell you, I once made our brother watch him on the season that he was on Project Runway. I said, I want you to see what this guy makes in 3 days. And Bill the whole time was going, oh, no, it takes longer than 3 days. Oh, no, he didn't do that. Oh, no. And at the end he said, my God, did you see what he did? I can't.
Okay. So he's the one
he
made Billy Porter's tuxedo dress.
He designed Billy Porter's tuxedo dress. But he's also the guy that dresses all the bigger women who no one else wants to dress, and they all show up looking gorgeous. Every time there's a regular-shaped woman looking beautiful, I won't say every time, I'll say 95% of the time, Christian Siriano has dressed that woman. He not about non-existent shapes. He's about dressing the person that's standing in front of them and making them look exactly the way they want to look, but better.
Okay.
And, I mean...
But Billy Porter clearly, he thought he looked good. I thought it looked silly myself, but, I mean, it's these times and people can
I
do
thought when I looked at Billy Porter in that tuxedo dress, I saw a human being getting to look like
exactly
their
like
heart's
he wants.
desire
Right, exactly.
for the first time in his life. No different than anybody else looks when they go, oh, look! And that moment for him made me happy.
See, I'm less charitable than you in this regard, and maybe it's because I know him a little bit, but I just think he really loves attention.
Well, of course he does. Well, who are we to speak?
You mean everybody pretty much usually kind of likes attention? Not everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, he stole the show.
Well, you mean those people that are aggressively reclusive, don't seek attention?
Like what? You're saying the Unabomber actually wanted celebrity? Who's aggressive?
Of course he did.
Who are you thinking about when you say people who are aggressive?
I'm talking about any people that hide themselves away, draw notice to themselves by having people worry about them, about why they're hiding themselves away. There's no way. I mean, it's all in the service of one's ego somehow.
Well, that's funny because I was talking to a friend the other day, and she was saying that she has a friend, and who she likes very much, but who just drives her crazy because she says she's just so like shy, and she talks like this, and you have to, if she's talking, you have to like lean in, and you've got to concentrate to hear her. And I said, she's passive aggressive. I mean, she's creating a situation in which everybody has to, and the woman I was
pay
talking,
her undivided heed.
the woman I was talking to said, "Oh my God, I never thought of that." And then I thought, I might be right, and I might be wrong. She might really just be shy, but it turns out she's a manager of a business. And anyone who's a manager of a business ain't able to be sort of like shy and unable to talk.
Well, and I will tell you that as an erstwhile and very short-lived teacher, the quickest way to get the class's attention when they're noisy is to speak very softly.
Well, then how can they hear you speaking very softly?
Well, because they begin, one person notices, and then pretty soon they're all leaning in. That's what happens.
Okay. So appearing reticent and shy can actually be a way of getting attention. All right, so now we decided.
No, or at least that's my current morning's bullshit.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think we might. I just want to say, potential total bullshit or warning.
Well, I beat you to it.
No, from both of us. I mean, we're just because according to what
we're
saying,
critically thinking. I'm going to say it again. You're going to call it bullshit. I'm calling it critical thinking.
Okay, but I'm also thinking that if you take what we're saying to its ultimate end, what we're saying is every human being on Earth, despite how they comport themselves, is seeking attention.
Of course.
No, I actually think there are people who really want to fly totally under the radar. That's what I think.
Well, as someone that's tried to do that in Palm Springs now for 4 years, let me tell you that works only so long. And I have been discovered out here by
people who know
long-lost acquaintances.
Okay. That's what happens. So,
well, yeah.
Okay, so I want to go back to the Oscars because one thing I didn't mention yesterday is I found it a really cringeworthy moment, or I just was surprised by it. And this has to do with the Bradley Cooper Lady Gaga duet. Okay?
You thought she came out a little hot and heavy, did you?
No. I mean, obviously he's no singer. And having to perform live when without a band behind him and stuff. Anyway, he's no singer. That wasn't it. It was the end when they finished sitting at the piano together and
looking lovingly into
looking
each other's eyes.
lovingly into each other's eyes. And then it's over. The audience is applauding madly. They do not acknowledge the audience for. Somebody should go back and check the tape. But they continued just looking at each other for, I'd say, and this would be a very long time, even though it doesn't sound like it, maybe 3-4 seconds. Her back was to the audience. His eyes are on her. The audience is cheering, and they have not turned. Now,
yeah, they did do that.
I found that it did. I don't know. First of all,
you aren't the only one.
His wife is sitting. I assume that woman he's with is his wife, and that little teeny thing was his mother.
No, it's not his wife, but it is the mother. His woman, who is the mother of his 1.5-year-old child.
Oh, okay.
Irina Sayak is her name, I think.
Okay. So I just thought it was.
No, it was. Can I just say something to everybody out there? They're actors.
They
were acting the song.
And they
are not having an affair.
They thought, I'm not saying they're having an affair. I said, but that actually the failure to acknowledge the audience more quickly on a live show, which is going, I thought was them. Okay, I hear what you're saying, but I just, frankly,
I think they were in the moment. I think it was a little weird. It was definitely heartfelt. I think they went right back into character. I think that's what happened, and I think that they were. I think they're very good friends. I think they were very excited and terrified because he's not a singer. Sing on that stage,
right?
And as a duet, unaccompanied,
with
and
one of the best singers going right now,
right? And what she said when they got off stage to each other, she turned to her and says, "Was that okay?" And then she turned to him and she just said, "That was fucking great what you did. I'm so fucking proud of you." That's what
Susan,
she said when they got off the stage.
Are you a mind reader? You're a lip reader. You heard her say "fucking great," fucking.
No, I
twice?
read it. I read it because I was interested in the moment too. So was everybody else that was reported.
Okay. All right, so that was just another thing I hadn't said.
What was also reported was Mel B, who was one of the Spice Girls. Mel B.
I know.
Mel B, who apparently is on Good Morning America yesterday morning, said exactly the same thing. She said, "I was so uncomfortable knowing that, with that moment, knowing that his girlfriend and the mother of his baby is standing 2 feet away and they're making googly eyes at each other she said, I just thought it was inappropriate."
Really?
And I thought the same thing that's exactly what she said on air.
Okay, so
I felt terrible.
Okay, well, I had I was made uncomfortable, and then I took exception as somebody who was in the audience. Somebody who was watching them and thinking, okay, you did it. Hello. Hello. There's a few 100 million human beings watching. The show must go on. Get out of yourselves.
Well, the audience was not upset, and during the commercial, when they came back out to take their seats, they got a second standing ovation.
All right, okay.
I think they were acting. I think Gaga's, a little emotionally upset. She's just lost another guy. So.
What?
She just broke like her. She just broke like her 16th engagement. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard. Well, I would imagine she'd be a little.
And then you find yourself on the Academy Awards stage singing a love song to Bradley Cooper. I could see losing myself in the moment, Lynn. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And I did think the actress that played Anne, that I'm never going to see, and I don't care, but I do think that
her speech,
her acceptance speech was one of the greatest.
Yeah, it was.
I
wonderful.
just loved it.
Well, because And I don't know what it is about these British actresses and actors who invariably, when they win, get up on stage and deliver just wonderful thank yous. Clever, heartfelt, genuine, and American actors have trouble doing it. The Brits almost always charm the hell out of you when they win. And it's not their accent. It's what they say, what they choose to say. And
it's what they say.
And
like
I was
her congratulating her when she said, if you aren't watching to her, your kid's good for you. But this isn't ever going to happen again.
You didn't see the movie, The Favorite, which I did not like at all. That the best actress, this British actress who played Queen Anne, was amazing in it. There's no doubt about that. I mean, the acting in it was amazing. All these women were amazing.
Well,
I just thought the movie was crap. Myself.
More movie trivia, but that actress is the one who is currently filming as Queen Elizabeth in her middle years for The Crown.
Oh, okay. For those who follow that,
which makes it it's wonderful. If you don't follow it, you should. It's fun.
Okay, and I just want to say about the ongoing, hoo-ha-ha about Green Book winning. Green Book was not, to me, is not an Oscar Best Picture. I agree with that. I do think it was a nice movie, and all the caterwauling about it, I think is a little silly, frankly. I was reading more about it that the critics blasting it for being for white people to look at and say, well, isn't that wonderful? Somehow racism, that it somehow diminishes the experience of Black Americans and in Jim Crow and I didn't see it like that. I saw it as a story of a friendship. Two disparate people coming together, and it was lovely in that way, and that's all. I thought the ending of the movie was ridiculously contrived, and I have not said that before. I thought the ending was like a Hollywood, let's tie it up in an absurdity here. That I agree with. But that's it was a feel-good movie of which I want more.
Okay, and I understand that, but...
Did you see it?
Let me just ask you.
Did you see it?
I haven't seen it.
Well,
no,
then you don't
didn't
have
see
any
it,
standing
Wait
here.
a minute. I didn't see it, and I plan to see it, but I just want to ask you a question. When a story about the Black experience is up for a Best Award, a Best Oscar, written and produced by a Black man against a story about the Black experience written and produced by a white guy, and the audience prefers the white guy's story, I think that tells a story.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Yeah, the people who made the one that won, Green Book, were almost all white. 'Tis true. Although Olivia Spencer was an executive producer, Harry Belafonte, civil rights icon, yeah, and don't give me any shit, Black guy, loved it. John Lewis introduced it. I am sick of things being just taken down to a point where we end up at each other's throats. It was a nice little movie. That's all. Can we not enjoy that and start looking at skin color and who did what and who did this and I just it was mostly white because it was based on the reminiscences of the white guy of the driver. And it was his son who, was one of the producers. Yeah, it was a friendship that developed between a white guy and a black guy. It was the white guy's family that sort of pushed the story. And it doesn't make the story wrong. It doesn't make it right. It is just I'm getting fucking sick. And you know what they say in the New York Times? Here's what they say in the New York Times today. I just want to
you're saying.
I want to say this today.
It is a nice story.
Here's what I want to say. The New York Times is saying, despite all the pre-Oscars backing for Green Book, after it won Sunday night, it says vocal supporters were hard to find. A half dozen Academy members declined to be interviewed about the victory, including several who had supported it. One, clearly anonymously, explained that he did not want to attract, quote, the Twitter mob. And this is what we've come to. White people are fearful of saying they like that movie. Because then you're somehow, what? You're a racist? Jesus. I just can't take it much more. And here's a film critic for the Los Angeles Times. He says Green Book is an embarrassment. The film industry's unquestioning embrace of it is another embarrassment. It reduces the long, barbaric, and ongoing history of American racism to a problem, a formula, a dramatic equation that can be balanced and solved. And it does not. It's a story about two individuals. Why does everyone have to take something that is a micro and immediately conflate it into some huge thing that is like a polemic? That movie is not about the history of black suffering and the barbarism that Black America. It is not that. That was not the essence of the movie. It occurred within that environment. I don't know, Susan. I'm getting to the point where I'm starting to lose my mind. I can't take the Twitter mob anymore. I can't take the outrage machine anymore. I can't take.
Stop reading it. I'm not on Twitter.
Well,
I'm not. I read
Susan,
reports about it.
Okay, no, I am, and you'd be hard pressed to find anyone in the news business, and I still am, who's not watching Twitter, because that's all I follow on it. I follow news. But then,
or the mob.
Well, listen, you know the mob. You love going back and forth with people on Facebook and stuff, and that's part of the social media mob scene. But it is. And you know
but
that
I'm on such nice little sites.
Oh, nice little sites. But you know that everything now is nothing more than fodder for another mashup. I'm so sick of it. I really am.
Well, that's true. That's true. I mean, even on this little stupid social cues thing that I sometimes comment on, you know, people get nasty, and other people come on and say, "Hey, you know, can you not try and be a troll on an etiquette line?"
No, but it's too late. I mean, this is what we're now doing. We're just, I guess it's our form of entertainment. We're at each other's throats about anything and everything.
I think everybody should take up boxing. Really. Just take up boxing and just punch things and then get it out of your system and be nice to people.
All right. Well, just because it works for you, it would not work for me. Listen to this email I got from Linda. First, she welcomes me back from California, and then she says this. I'm listening to your Monday show, yesterday's show, but it's Tuesday. She's listening it's because she's in Hanoi. She was listening to Monday's show, and it was Tuesday where she was, but it was, and I'm thinking, what a time to be in Hanoi with the you-know-who there. And she says this,
I know.
My husband and I are celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary, and they decided to take a trip to Vietnam. Listen, they were married in 1969, and the Vietnam War was raging, and her husband's lousy draft number, she said, shaped our lives for years to come. So her husband's a Vietnam vet who was there in the midst of the horror, and that 50 years later he would want to go back. So she says, we thought it only fitting to celebrate 50 years by a tour through Vietnam. We never imagined our days in Hanoi would be complicated by a visit from Trump and Kim Jong-un. Yeah, right. What are the chances?
Well,
they wanted a quiet moment in Hanoi, and instead
their life
Donald
gets
Trump
blown up
ruined
again
it.
in Vietnam.
Yeah, there it goes, Donald. And by the way, the only way Donald Trump in 1969 would have gotten anywhere near Vietnam, right? Like 69, this guy's over there, yeah, with his low draft number. And, of course, the Orange Horror is having Daddy fix things for him. All right, we have a caller. Hello?
Hi, Lynn. Hey, Susan. It's Mike in D.C.
Hi, Mike.
Good morning.
So here's what I think about the whole Green Book movie, is that the macro, the really big stuff that's going on, is so overwhelming and so scary that human beings focus on the little things because they can't control the big things at all.
I think that's very wise.
Okay. Yeah.
And it is scary. Yeah, it's totally scary.
And so you have to fight.
Yeah.
But that's not smart. So you have to, our fight and flight, we're on the edge so much that all we want to do is fight about the littlest, tiniest thing.
Because we want a victory. We want to say,
Right.
see, we brought down the governor of Virginia. We can't get health care for all, but we told that racist what's what.
Ultimately, it doesn't help, I don't think. Do you?
No, but it makes people feel like they're doing something. And that's
Okay.
all
Yeah, but
people of today want, is to feel things.
like I'm doing something.
Right.
When-
They just want to feel righteous or feel like they're doing the right
Well, that's the thing.
thing. It doesn't
and it's-
matter that they actually are.
No, and it's all that, I'm a better person than you because I responded to this in this way. And our side
Right.
is the ones that do that the most. And it's obnoxious. And
Yeah, and you
I do it. I do it too. That's what our side is. It's why so many people hate liberals and hate Democrats. We're always out righteousing. We are. Don't you think?
Yes, you called it on the Jussie Smollett thing,
Ugh.
and I paused. My new rule is now, before you make some righteous, indignatious comments to anybody, pause.
Yeah,
wait
wait
a day
while.
and
Right.
see how it shakes out. Right.
Yeah. But
But
that's not the time
I guess
to...
it feels good to. It feels good to have that righteous indignation.
Yes, it does. Oh, yes, it does.
Well, because you're feeling better than the other fellow. I mean, that's something that we like to do.
And I want to say that I know that because, going back to the Vietnam War, I remember marching, in Washington, D.C. for the mobilization to end the war amidst all those young people, mostly young, and feeling that sense of I'm righteous, I'm with a good. So, I mean, I remember feeling that way and then feeling, am I supposed to be feeling this way? It didn't seem like I should be, that I was supposed to instead be sort of stern and resolved. And instead, it was all about me feeling like I was a good person and I don't know. I'm having trouble with just human beings in general. I'm really struggling with humanity right now. I'm not sure I like us and much.
See, I see marching as an action. I got up off my fat ass. I got on a bus with a bunch of people I didn't know, and I made my presence known. I see tweeting or even writing a news article about a movie I didn't like, not the same thing at all.
Mm. Yeah.
And I think if the screenwriter was white, right? I think if he were a black guy, I think they might have felt differently about it. And people want to feel like they have a voice and stuff, but I'm with you. It's a story. And if you don't like the story, okay, make your own story.
Okay, here, let me throw Milton in here. He says, imagine if the movie The Killing Fields had been reduced to a nice feel-good buddy movie about a New York Times writer and his crazy, witty sidekick, Lon Nol, and their crazy adventures before the fall of Vietnam. And then Milton says, I'm not saying that's how I feel. I just understand that others feel that way about Green Book. So in other words, what you're saying is we could never have had a feel-good movie set in Vietnam or Cambodia during that horror. You can never take a little extract of human life, because even in the horror of things, humans are interacting one-on-one, and things happen in that small way that are real. They are not necessarily representative of what is happening. I don't know.
I think people misunderstand what a movie is. A movie is not a documentary or historical fact. A movie is one thing and one thing only. It's to get people to buy it.
Well, that's true.
Well,
to get into the seat, to get into that seat, or to buy that movie. Remember that movie with Margaret Thatcher, the Meryl Streep one? A friend of mine was mad that they made Margaret Thatcher old in the beginning and feeble. And I was like, yeah, because they're trying to get some people to have sympathy for her. So white people are just trying to wrap their brains around this and have sympathy for themselves. And it's a movie. I'm sorry that it doesn't depict reality, but that's how they're trying to get people into those seats.
It portrayed a certain reality that was going on between those two human beings. What?
And I get back to the whole March thing. Instead of writing a letter, fund a movie that tells the story you want to tell. Take some kind of action other than be a crybaby. Take an action.
Yeah.
Hollywood might buy it.
Okay. Hey, thank you. Appreciate the call.
Sure. Bye.
Thank you. All right. Let's get off.
Did you happen to read what Trevor Noah said about Jussie Smollett?
I saw a few things that Trevor Noah had done. I saw a little video he made, which was just. I'm having real trouble even wanting to talk about this Jussie Smollett.
No, it's so awful.
It's so upsetting.
It's just
Jussie
awful.
Smollett. Even for him, that this is a guy.
That he blew up his life this way.
He's young, and he blew up his life. To get what was he doing? He was seeking attention. This guy who had more attention than 99%.
This guy who was worried that he was going to lose attention was seeking attention.
and he did a
But what I found about what the thing that I'm talking about with Trevor Noah was his trying to put a positive spin on the Jussie Smollett story, and he ended his comments by saying that there was a silver lining, that it started out as a story about a black man being attacked for the color of his skin and not because of the content of his character, and it ended up with a black man being attacked for the content of his character and not the color of his skin, and he saw that as a huge improvement.
Oh, Jesus, God. Oh,
and
man.
it's sad, but it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, you know.
Okay, I want to change subjects, something I haven't talked about yet. After I left you, Susan, this weekend, I ended up in the Denver airport for a while. And while I was standing there at a gate, I overheard a guy say to another guy, did you hear what happened? Do you know the term schadenfreude? You know, when you take delight in someone else's bad fortune? And the guy says, yeah. And he said, did you hear that Robert Kraft, you know, the owner of the Patriots, got caught in a prostitution sting? And then they started talking about this thing. And the one guy couldn't believe that a man who's worth billions and billions of dollars would go to a strip mall massage parlor to get serviced. He couldn't have somebody brought up to his palatial estate. He couldn't. I mean, seriously. And the more.
Well, maybe his wife was at home.
No, his
know?
wife is dead. Okay, his wife is dead. He has maybe a girlfriend. Anyway, it says he went 2 days in a row. On January 19th, this is the New York Times today, he arrived at the Orchids of Asia strip mall thing, and in a 2014 white chauffeur-driven Bentley. He spent about 40 minutes inside, during which time he undressed, laid on his back on a massage table as a woman massaged his genitals. Now, they obviously put cameras up to get he can plead not guilty to his, they have what happened. Then, here's the part that just blew me away. The very next day, hours before the start of the AFC Championship game in which his team was playing, and it wasn't being held in Florida, was it? No. He goes back in his Bentley and is seen entering the room, hugging a masseuse. Once again, the woman is observed with her hands on his genitals. Then she is seen placing her head close to his pelvic area. The woman helps him get dressed. Kraft hugs her and gives her a $100 bill and some other unidentifiable form of currency. He was only in the spa for 14 minutes. And then he gets back in his Bentley and goes, I guess, and gets on his private jet. And goes to Kansas City, where he watches the Patriots, of course, win the AFC Championship. So one of his servicings was literally hours before he went off to Kansas City for the game. And then he, what is with a man of his, here's what I don't get. In this day and age, where no privacy can be expected for anybody. If you are a celebrity, which he is, and you are watched and you are known, especially on that weekend, that he so blatantly does that when he needn't. What is with people that they don't understand?
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. He wasn't caught because someone was following a famous person. He was caught because they were after this
Doing a
particular
sting.
massage parlor
I know.
for sex trafficking.
I know.
So he was just excuse the expression, a poor schmo in the wrong place at the wrong time. And I don't see why the fact that he was going to a football game later in the day had anything to do with the fact that he had an itch in the morning. I mean, this is...
If you're Robert Kraft and you have an itch in the morning, you do not have to be chauffeur-driven
You think he could
to
have gotten
get
the
some
ladies'
poor
card
sex
and
slave to give you, a measure of release. That's what's insane. If you're that rich, you can privately take care of these. I can't even comprehend it. Ugh.
Well, desire is a strange thing,
Oh,
and
desire.
perhaps the seediness of that was exciting to him. You don't know. You don't know. I'm just constantly amazed at the fact. I had a totally different thought. Most guys his age are not constantly in a state of arousal. But
No, they all have Viagra.
As a matter of fact,
they all have.
most of them. So do you think he's popping Viagra to go in and get it? That doesn't even make sense to me. That's what doesn't make sense to me.
Well, Susan, Viagra, just, God. It used to be guys after a while, weren't so needy. And now with Viagra has to be the worst plague ever, to me. Unbelievable. Jeez.
Okay, I want to ask you a question.
What?
Are you a little aggravated at this woman who's actually
Yes.
suing Trump because
Yes.
he tried to kiss her?
Yes, that's the one thing. That's the
Okay.
other politically incorrect thing I want to talk about today. Former staffer claims Trump forced a kiss on her. I want to say this: the scenario that she
If I sued everybody that planted
That
a
did
kiss
that?
on me, I didn't want it.
Jesus
For
Christ,
heaven's sake.
Susan,
And,
I would
and
have
let
20
me say that
lawsuits
there
a
are
week.
there are an equal number of men that feel exactly the same way. They
What
get
the
pawed and
F?
kissed, by
So-
women that they don't want to be pawed and kissed by all the time too.
I cannot tell you how there's a certain.
What were her damages?
She
And
felt.
who is the lawyer that took this thing?
She was
I'm sorry,
distressed.
you do not-
She was
Oh.
almost in tears. She had been violated. You know what? I go to a party or events and I see people I haven't seen in a long time or maybe I saw them last week. But there are certain people who they hug you and they give you a kiss. Sometimes I don't like on the lips to people I don't have a intimate relationship. But it happens, and if I turn my head and they get me on the side of my, cheek or half of my lip, I might be annoyed for a second, like, what the fuck? And I have actually said to people when I walk in and I see they're the kissy type, I often just put up my hands and say, hey, hi, no reason to give me a kiss. But it's not an assault. If that's an assault, I totally agree with you. This is bullshit.
Well, I don't understand the lawyer who takes the case because you have to actually be able to show damages and damages have to be caused by a reasonable assault. Something that would reasonably by the normal human being be considered an assault. And I'm sorry, I don't think anybody considers that assault. We have all been the subjects of unwanted buses. Big deal.
big deal.
And then
this
she
is
did.
more of that
She-
mountains
a
into
job
from
from him.
molehills. That-
She went. No, she tried to. She didn't leave him. She kept trying to
No.
get jobs in his administration. She made a radio commercial about what a nice guy he was. This all occurs after. So, I mean, just in terms of evidentiary, basis, she's got. Not only did she not have a case to begin with, she doesn't have a case to end with.
No, but she's got her fame and got her. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but it's
if that's an
it's
assault, any
terrible.
woman who's really been assaulted,
anybody's been assaulted. It has nothing to do with the woman. Any man has suffered the same indignity.
but I'm saying, I'm just so sick of everybody taking a minor annoyance or infraction or something and making it into a mountain of I was abused. Now, maybe, Susan, we're just two older women, and these younger women are creating a reality in which nobody is going to ever touch another person again. I mean, excuse me, we're going to walk around like this, terrified.
No, I don't think that's. Yeah, well, sorry. No, we're human. That's not going to happen. We just shouldn't want it to happen. And this is the conversation that irritates me. We should all be able to discern what a proper way of behaving is. Men shouldn't be concerned that we shouldn't have whole magazine articles about how I know what I'm not supposed to do. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well, let me tell you, we all know what we're not supposed to do, and figuring out what we're supposed to do is what they call life. So, sorry, it has nothing to do with sex or touching women or not touching women. And the whole thing is just stupid. Boys know how to keep their hands to themselves, what an inappropriate touch is. And if they don't, somebody has failed to parent them or to give them a sense of empathy. The whole thing is ridiculous. This doesn't need to be taught. It's
well,
stupid.
apparently it does, Susan.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm taking that away from men in general. You shouldn't have to have a problem figuring this out. And if you do, you're defective. There's something wrong with you. Go to a doctor.
All right. I have nothing to add to that. That is correct.
Okay, I'm awake now. What time is it? Are we done?
Almost. We're 3/4 of the way there, Sue. It's a little over. And let me take this moment to again remind people of all the extraordinary stuff going on around the corner at the August Wilson Cultural Center. I got their booklet here, the 2018-2019 season. And they got theater, they got lectures, they got bands, they got jazz, they got unbelievable stuff going on, and they bring in such amazing people that don't otherwise get seen. Like I'm looking right here, excuse me, and yet you missed this one. There is a Haitian-born choreographer. I am looking at some pictures of him, unbelievable, but he has you're not going to see the kind of creativity coming out of places like this, like a Haitian choreographer. You're not going to see that at the Benedum. You're going to see it at the August Wilson Cultural Center, and you are going to be blown away by the talent they bring in. Just blown away. You might not have heard of some of them. Those things are often the best, the best moments of all. The discovery that awaits you whenever you walk through those doors. I have never had a bad moment
there, whether I went to an art show there, whether I went to a jazz concert there, an intimate one, whether I went to a larger stage performance with the likes of Anna Devere Smith. It doesn't matter. You're going to be wowed. Put it in your head, August Wilson Cultural Center, and use it. That's all I'm saying. Use it. Oh, man. Susan, I went to a all-woman version of Shakespeare's The Tempest, which was at another theater in town over the weekend.
Yeah.
And it's a stage that's like, it's a three-sided stage, so you're seeing audience members on the edges. There was a woman, and of course she had to be wearing a bright colored jacket, so she was standing out, who almost from the beginning of the play, and a lot of action was happening right, literally a foot from her foot, was out cold.
Oh, no.
Head down, out cold. And she distracted me. And she distracted me not only because she was so visible, but also I couldn't believe the actors having, it's not like, they don't see that there's somebody a foot away from them. Why do people, I don't even understand. And then there was a woman behind us who, maybe in the middle, said rather loudly, God, when is this going to be over? I'm thinking, why are you people here? It was wonderful. It was a wonderful interpretation. And why do people who, I don't understand. If you're sitting in that first row and you know that everybody else in the audience, because they're looking at the action in front of you, is going to see you, you have the gall to fall asleep for the whole
Well, now wait a minute. She could have had a disorder that makes her sleep. Somebody might have slipped her a Mickey, and she fell asleep. Now I know that
I
can
saw her
happen
afterwards. She was up and walking and no, bullshit. What the hell? Roger says, yours and Susan's crabbiness is distracting me. Is distracting me from my stomach problems. Wow, and thanks.
Anytime. I'm sorry you're having stomach problems. I had them the other day. They're the worst.
Are we being that crabby? I don't know. We were being that crabby.
I think we were being crabby. Yes, I think you were being crabbier than me, but then you got me crabby, and I yelled at men. I would like to make it clear, I really like nice men. It's just the defective ones I don't like.
But my God, it's all you read about. I mean, men behaving badly. It's just, I can't take
men
it
behaving
anymore.
badly, and then men pretending, and then the writing about men not knowing how to figure it out is the part that makes
I know, that's the part that makes
because
you go nuts.
because I really think that the vast majority of men have it figured out pretty well, for heaven's sakes,
Yeah.
and are being totally made to look like, excuse the expression, total dicks by, about a third of their population.
Okay, well, I think men need to do they need to have the courage to monitor, speak up, then the good guys, they need to shut the bad guys down. They need to have the courage to do it, and they don't. Mostly, they don't do it. That would be a start. For all the people who say, well, black people got to clean up the crime in their own community, and this person have to do the blah, blah, blah. I got news for you guys. You have got to, when with other men who say the wrong things, when you see them do the wrong. I remember, Susan.
When you're engaging in locker room talk, which is what you use as your excuse when you're saying disgusting things about people, and it makes you uncomfortable, tell them to cut it out.
Okay, so
go to a different locker room.
I'm just remembering early on when I was in Pittsburgh, and this would be in the 80s, I lived next door to this wonderful, he was a contractor. He was this huge, big guy with a voice like this. He was huge, and he was sort of like a, rode a motorcycle, big, tough guy. And he was a wonderful person. I mean, he would wake me up in the morning, actually, cuddling with a cat that he had in the backyard and saying, "Oh," and if my window was up, he would wake me up, and I'd say, "Shut up!" And we had a nice kind of relationship. And then his common law wife, I think, essentially left him. I had since moved. I had moved away, and he actually called me one day and asked if he could come over. He'd been single now for about 5-6 months. He shows up in my living room. He is like so unhappy and so depressed and distraught. And he said to me, "How do you women not hate us men?" I said, what are you talking about? And he said, "I'm now, I'm hanging out. I go out for drinks with guys. I'm out there. I see the way guys and this was in the 80s, this and he saw men behaving as men behave and was so upset about it. And it's the first time any man ever said that to me. I remember thinking that it was so adorable that this big hulking guy who you'd expect that kind of behavior from, actually, was taken aback by what he saw out on the scene that he had been away from for so long.
Yeah.
You gotta speak up. Anyway, let's get back to something that I saw in also a long time ago. I did a piece for WTAE television. This would be in the 80s too, about yawning, because I'd always wondered about it, and so I gathered as much information as I could. I found pictures of animals yawning, of people yawning. I had an interview with some researcher at Western Psychiatric Institute, about a sleep expert, about yawning. And I came away from that so disappointed, because the question you want to ask is, why do we yawn? It's an involuntary response. And why, as I'm talking about it now, do a lot of you feel like yawning? And the more I talk about it, the odds are the more of you are going to yawn. I'm even starting to feel like yawning. And
not me.
Give it time. And what I learned was that, if you yawn, the contagion of yawning is a fascinating thing that still, and I did that interview in the 80s, and in the New York Times today, there's an article on it. Still, they have not a clue. They have figured out that obviously people tend to yawn when they're tired, But we also yawn when we wake up from a long sleep. So we're not tired anymore. We yawn when we're bored. A lot of people yawn when they're anxious. A lot of people yawn when they're hungry. It has been noted that people who jump out of airplanes, skydivers, often yawn before jumping. These are not things you say, oh, now I'm supposed to yawn. No, they just yawn. Police officers heading into a maybe scary or difficult situation often yawn. And so here again is some other expert saying the answer so far is we don't know why we yawn. No physiological effect has really been observed. There's all kinds of ideas, and until
it must be a psychological, but doesn't it sound like
No.
it's a psychological thing? Well, whether we know it or not, I mean, it's a tick that the body has developed that it thinks helps to calm, to send when you're anxious or when you're about to do something scary, it sends a you're going to be fine. You're going to be. It's also fine.
Well, that's
you could
the
even
current.
yawn. You're going
That's
to be
the
fine.
current theory. But it's totally unproven. Is that yawning is a brain cooling mechanism that promotes actually arousal and alertness. So, but they cannot prove it. They can't prove anything. Also, people who are more empathic are believed to be more easily influenced to yawn by others' yawns. So I have to tell you, I am really struggling now not to yawn talking about this. Dogs yawn in response to your yawn. Have you ever noticed that? If you
Right. Well, and dogs also use it as displacement behavior. So if you're talking to a dog and you're confusing him and he doesn't know what's expected of him,
they yawn when they're
he might
anxious.
very well yawn.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's clearly observable.
All right, but I'm just saying.
Plus, I remember taking an animal behavior course from Michael Fox in the early 70s, and we discussed yawning in animals as a displacement behavior.
Okay, well, just saying, we can put a man on the moon, but we don't know why. When you yawn, I yawn, and we don't know why. I don't know. We don't know.
Well, and we don't even know why. Here's what else we don't know. We don't know whether all the physics that we're teaching is actually the correct physics.
Well, that's
Did
true,
you
too.
see that one?
Yeah, well, that's true.
But that we might things are expanding faster than
Right.
the current physics suggests they should. So
Right.
one of the theories is we're all going to just sort of spontaneously combust in the next 20 minutes. So just in case
Not in the next 20 minutes.
you don't have enough to worry about.
Okay, I just want to know how many people did we make yawn in the last 5 minutes, and that sort of does it for us, Suze. We're out of time, and
Okay, bye.
bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
See you guys tomorrow. Okay. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.